What's going on, guys, and welcome to episode 250 of Hashtag AskGSM here today for September 12th, 2018. I am Graham GSM Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well. 250 episodes in, 250 episodes in, over 5 years of doing this show. First and foremost, guys, thank you for your support of the show since 2013. I greatly appreciate it. Without you guys sending in the questions, watching, listening to the video, this show would not be where it is today. I would likely not still be doing it. I would likely not be 250 episodes in. I likely would have stopped after 10 episodes when I did it for 10 episodes in the summer of 2013, and then stopped for a few months when I went to college. But brought it back, and I've been doing it ever since. So again, guys, thank you for checking out the show every single week. The show would not be here without you. So that being said, if you want to send in a question, you could do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Graham.GSM.Matthews. Leave a comment on the post I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, be sure to drop your question down below on this very video. I'll include your question in next week's edition. So first question right off the bat from Captain Sunshine from YouTube. On one hand, I get the Shield beating up the entire heel roster as a way to make up for last week's ridiculousness. On the other hand, this kind of thing is kind of why WWE has little to no, quote-unquote, stars in the modern era, because the roster can be lumped into a mindless collective that can't beat up 3 men with a 17-man advantage. Look, when I said I was looking forward to Roman Reigns as champion in the Shield versus Braun Strowman, it was because the Shield versus Braun at least seemed like a somewhat fair fight. Now Braun and the tag team champions and everyone who's ever held the tights for a roll-up on the show can't even land punches. Is it so much to ask for people's prestige and power levels to be consistent and not changed around on a weekly whim? Yeah, this whole fucking Shield versus every heel in the roster bullshit does nothing for me. It really doesn't. Like you said, the biggest issue with it is not only that we've seen it before, not that it doesn't make for compelling television, those are all issues, but the biggest one among them is that you put people in that 17-man fucking mess of a faction there with Baron Corbin and Braun and Dolphin Drew. Braun, Dolph, and Drew were fine because obviously they escaped the carnage on Monday before they could get the beating handed to them. You know, the Ascension, whatever, Mike Kanellis, the guy's on TV, yay, good for him. I'm talking about people like the Authors of Pain. I'm talking about people like fucking Kevin Owens, who are being thrown into this thing. Now, Kevin Owens being a part of this makes absolutely no sense, as you could probably, pick up on yourself, that he spent the entire summer basically getting buried at the hands of Braun Strowman. Now, I know he said on Raw during this promo that, I'm not here to help anyone, just I'm here to do it for myself because I hate the Shield or whatever the fuck. Dude, you're still helping Braun Strowman at the end of the day. You are. You're still helping Braun Strowman, the same guy that you've been feuding with for months and was really the reason why you quit in the first place. It makes absolutely no fucking sense. And then they have him get his ass handed to him at the start of Raw this week, and then they expect us to take him seriously when he comes out later on and attacks Tyler Breeze. No one's going to care. I like Kevin Owens, but I don't care about his renewed push, because we've seen it before. Well, he'll get aggressive for a week or two, and then he'll be back to being fucking booked like a cowardly chicken shit heel. The Authors of Pain is even worse, because at least Owens has credibility and can bounce back. AOP, they're just getting their feet wet on the main roster. Now, I know they've been here for like 5 months now, but their first run around pretty much failed. When they were built up, disappeared from TV for like a month and a half, came back, lost to Titus Worldwide, had that failure of a feud, and now they're being brought back with Drake Maverick as their mouthpiece. That's great and all, but how do you expect us to take them seriously when they are getting attacked when there's a 17-man, or whatever the hell it is, a 17-man advantage over the Shield, and they're still getting their fucking asses handed to them? That's why we have no stars. That's why these people do not take heels seriously. That's why Raw is so devoid of heels right now, because they're all fucking joke. Kevin Owens has been booked like shit. Jinder Mahal sucks. Baron Corbin is boring. Who else really even is there? I know Elias was a part of that too. Not really a big fan of him being a part of it. I know he's not a part of anything meaningful at the moment, but still, it makes him look like shit too. So that's why I did not enjoy that angle. In addition to the fact that it really was like not all that compelling. Like, I love the Shield. I love what they're doing with the Shield for the most part. But it's not really doing the rest of the roster, at least on the heel side, any favors. And also, why isn't anyone coming to the aid of the Shield? Why aren't Heath Slater and Rhino coming out? Or Finn Balor? Like, does no one give a shit about the Shield? Like, kind of makes them look pretty bad in comparison as well. Their next question, dour pessimism aside, Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre versus the Roman not included Shield should be great on Sunday. It's one of those pairings that are so good on paper that a month from now we will have forgotten 100% of the build because tag team wrestling, when it's allowed to be tag team wrestling, is good. Honest question now, is there any better wrestling than tag team wrestling? Now, that's pretty subjective. I agree. I love tag team wrestling. I was watching back No Mercy from a year ago. And Hell in the Cell from a year ago. My review is now available on WrestleRant right here on the channel. Cheap plug. Hell in the Cell, No Mercy, both had great tag team matches. At No Mercy, we had Ambrose and Rollins versus Cesaro and Sheamus. Great match. Hell in the Cell, one of the best matches all year between the New Day and the Usos. So yeah, the tag team divisions I thought were pretty good at that point, way better than they are now. But the matches were what really put tag team wrestling back on the map for both brands. Now tag team wrestling really does not mean as much as it once did because the divisions are in such a shitty state at the moment. But yeah, it could be, rehabbed with the right amount of, with the right feuds. And we have Ziggler and Drew versus Ambrose and Rollins, two makeshift tag teams. But so were Cesaro and Sheamus versus Ambrose and Rollins last year, and that was a great-ass match. So I expect this match to be no different. Anyway, people could say women's wrestling is better. People could say, even cruiserweight wrestling is better. When cruiserweight wrestling, like you said, is allowed to be cruiserweight wrestling, and it's good, it's great. Like, watch 205 Live. The Buddy Murphy and Mustafa Ali matches were amazing. Cedric Alexander versus Buddy Murphy matches were great. They're about to have another match at the Super Showdown in Australia. Like, a lot of those matches were really fucking good. So yeah, again, I think that's a pretty subjective thing. But for me anyway, yeah, tag team wrestling is the best kind of wrestling. Mark S. from Facebook, his first question was, who would you have win between Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch at Hell in the Cell? Now, I want the belt on Becky in the long term, but it might be a little too soon to give her the belt, so I'd have Charlotte win, maybe via nefarious means. I don't know what they would do because she's the babyface, but Becky will likely win. I would hope to see her win, probably at Evolution, if not Survivor Series or Super Showdown or whatever. But yeah, I would assume that Flair will win, and I would have her win. She just won the belt. I mean, I guess, again, you could put the belt on Becky so soon. I would not have an issue with that, but I'll have Charlotte win in the first match because Becky's really been beating her up at every turn in the build-up to this match. So I'll have Charlotte win here, and then Becky can win the belt down the road. His second question, would you have put a stipulation on the Samoa Joe versus AJ Styles bout at Hell in the Cell? Yeah, in retrospect, I think we all said this when the feud first started, that it made sense for the feud to be continued inside Hell in the Cell on this pay-per-view. Now, we're not getting that. That might have been the original plan before they put Hardy and Orton inside the Cell. We've had 3 cell matches in the past. I don't know why they didn't want to do that. It's fine. I mean, less is more, but Joe and Styles does deserve to be inside the Cell, especially after the first match ended on a DQ. What's stopping them from having a DQ finish in this match too, or a countout, or something dumb like that? So yeah, I would have put the match inside the Cell. Maybe not really any other stipulation. I don't know if we've ever had another gimmick match on the Hell in the Cell card that was in Hell in the Cell. I might be mistaken on that. But I would have put it inside the Cell because I thought they were deserving of the stipulation, maybe at Super Showdown or Survivor Series. Hopefully this feud will be blown off, and I don't think it'll be blown off on Sunday. But I do hope it will get blown off in some sort of stipulation match because they are deserving of it, and the feud is ruthless enough, it's personal enough to warrant doing inside a cell or some other structure. At least the steel cage. The third question from Mark here, after seeing some of the matches revealed for the Mixed Match Challenge, would you still like to see Alexa Bliss and Braun Strowman win the whole thing? And who do you think will win the whole tournament? Yeah, I think isn't it Naomi and, I'm pretty sure it's Naomi and Jimmy Uso versus Charlotte Flair and AJ Styles. And then the other match is Natalya and Kevin Owens versus, it might be Braun and Alexa. I don't remember. But I still have Braun and Alexa winning the whole thing. I have no doubt about it. Like, there's no other tandem, no other duo on that entire show that to me makes sense to win the whole thing. They should have won the first time. I know why they didn't, because Asuka was undefeated at that point. She's no longer undefeated. You can have her lose now. So I would have Braun and Alexa win the entire thing. They're the best tandem. There's a lot of other great duos on the show this season, but I think Alexa and Braun, Team Little Big, have this thing in the bag. His next question: do you think there's any chance that Alexa Bliss wins the Raw Women's Championship at Hell in a Cell to set up the title belt at Evolution against Trish Stratus, considering Baron Corbin is an acting general manager, and would that championship match be something that you would be interested in seeing as a fan? So to discuss, kind of break down the first part of your question here, will Alexa regain the gold on Sunday so that her match at Evolution with Trish is a championship match? No, I don't think that's happening. Otherwise, they would not have taken the championship off of her in the first place. Ronda is the real money star right now. I talked about Charlotte if she loses the belt as soon as Sunday after winning it at SummerSlam. That's fine. I really don't think that's a huge deal. That being said, I think it would be stupid to take the title off of Ronda so soon. She has a lot of momentum right now. We've seen Alexa as champion 4 or 5 times by this point. There's no real reason to get the belt on her as soon as Sunday. Again, I think Alexa needs a bit of a break from the title picture coming out of the pay-per-view on Sunday. So I think Ronda is pretty much a guarantee to go over. That's why they had Alexa kick Ronda in the stomach during Raw this week, just to kind of give her to give fans some sort of incentive to think that she'll win. She won't. And Trish and Alexa does not need to be for the championship because fucking Trish isn't a full-time superstar, so you know that she won't win anyway. So no, there's no reason for Alexa to regain the gold. There's no reason for that match to be for the championship. And Alexa and Trish, I could think of better matches for Trish to have in her first singles match back in several years. But I could see why they did it. And not only that, but as a championship match, it doesn't really interest me. I think it's fine the way it is. It does not need the championship to be relevant. Should the match between Jeff Hardy and Shinsuke Nakamura on SmackDown this week have been for the U.S. title to create the possibility of Jeff Hardy and Randy Orton fighting for the title inside Satan's structure? No, there was really no reason for Hardy to go back for the belt. He lost decisively to Nakamura at SummerSlam. So why would he get another shot at the championship? That would have made no sense. So no, I'm glad it wasn't for the championship. Nakamura, he's not doing anything right now for the with the United States Championship. He's barely on TV this week. I think was the first time since he won the championship back at SummerSlam that he was actually on TV as champion, which kind of sucks. But there was no real reason because you knew Hardy wasn't going to win anyway. The championship should be kept on Nakamura. I know what you're saying, but from a storyline standpoint, Hardy did nothing to deserve another shot. And also, you knew he wasn't going to win. You knew we were going to get some sort of non-finish, so why even bother? Andre G from Facebook: out of the 4 wrestlers, which wrestler's WWE career would you restart? Alex Riley, Mason Ryan, Jack Swagger, or Leo Kruger? It's a good question. Mason Ryan just sucked. I liked Mason Ryan, but the guy was pretty fucking bad. So even if he restarted his career, took him out of the Nexus, or didn't do this with him or that with him, he still would have been bad. He still kind of sucked. So definitely not him. Leo Kruger, I liked Adam Rose, but the guy honestly was kind of boring. I didn't really see much money. Even if they changed Adam Rose to Leo Kruger in the main roster, he was pretty boring. There really would not be much differently I would do with him. Now, it comes down to Riley and Swagger. I think Swagger might be the smarter choice, but honestly, I didn't find Swagger to be that exciting. Even when they first brought him up, I think they first went wrong with him by having him win Money in the Bank and the World Championship so quickly. Or at least when he was being booked like a loser at that point. He was facing fucking Santino Marella on Superstars, and the next week he's winning Money in the Bank. No wonder people did not take him seriously. So you could have built him up better, but I never really saw him as a top-level guy anyway. Now, Alex Riley was not the second coming of CM Punk or Daniel Bryan. I really did think Alex Riley had a lot more potential than he did. He was not the most amazing wrestler in the world, but at least unlike Swagger, at least in my opinion, the guy had charisma. So I would restart his career. I thought he was off to a solid start with the whole Miz storyline. It was really after that whole thing ended that they went wrong with him. Because the whole backstage John Cena thing, the fucking heat on him, cost Riley a push, and the guy was never pushed ever again. So I think Swagger might be the smarter choice, but personally, I never really saw him as a big star. Maybe the same can be said for Alex Riley, but I think he was dealt a shittier hand than Jack Swagger, Mason Ryan, or Leo Kruger was. So I would restart his career out of those 4 guys. The next question from Andre. In the past 3 years or so, WWE has failed a lot of decent to great gimmicks. Who are the missed opportunities from each division? Women's, tag team, and mid-card main event. From the last 3 years, so dating back to 2015, for the women, easily Emma. Easily. That's not even close. She really should have been bigger than she was. I know she had, potential to Emelina thing, and that was kind of her fault that didn't work out, but that was really a one-dimensional gimmick anyway. It really wasn't going to go anywhere, but they fucked her over. She could have been a lot better than she was. She was a great wrestler, very good on the mic, and her heel character was awesome, but they did nothing with her on the main roster. For tag teams, it's a tie for me between the Revival. Now, the Revival could be better. They could still be salvaged, which is comical, I know, because they've been on the main roster now for a year and a half, and WWE has yet to do anything of note with them. But they can still be salvaged. But they really should have been bigger when they got called up, and I know injuries got in the way and all this other stuff. If not the Revival, then Enzo and Cass. Now, I know Enzo had heat on him, but they were still booked pretty bad their first year in the main roster. They came up with a lot of buzz, and it wasn't until after SummerSlam that started to fade away. Because they were being booked like fucking losers, losing all the time, their promos sucked. So Enzo and Cass really could have been a lot bigger than they were, and still could be together today if they weren't being booked like shit. So definitely Enzo and Cass. I really did think that they could have been the second coming of the New Age Outlaws and had some real longevity as a tag team, but they were split up way too soon and were booked like shit towards the end of their run together in late or mid 2017. For the mid-card main event, I'm sure there's other people who aren't coming to mind. I wrote down Nakamura here. They haven't really failed him, but they really have not done a lot for him since he got called up. Now, I know he won the Rumble. I know he's the current United States champion. But he also lost to AJ Styles 4 times. He also lost to Jinder Mahal twice. He's failed to win the WWE title 6 or 7 times since he got called up to SmackDown last year. That's not good. And once he lost the match to AJ at Money in the Bank, it was pretty much written on the wall that he will never get another shot at the WWE Championship. They just do not see him as WWE Championship material. So Nakamura should be a lot bigger than he is currently. He's fucking off TV for a month at a time, which is ridiculous. I also wrote down Apollo Crews. Now, I know he's kind of a jobber at this point, but I would consider him mid-card. I really did think that he could have been a lot bigger of a star. I think a lot of us, maybe not a lot of people, but I know RJ, for example, myself included, thought that he would be not the first because The Rock is, but the next black world champion in WWE, the first black WWE champion. Now, The Rock is the first not even technically, he is the first black WWE champion. He's half black, half Samoan, so I shouldn't even say technically. He is the first black WWE champion in history. What I meant to say was that Apollo Crews could be the next black champion in WWE history. Based off, just his pure athleticism. I really like Apollo Crews, and I still do. And he still has his moments to shine on Raw every now and again. But he's been booked such shit over the last 2.5 years that I have no faith they will ever book him the right way. He had a run on SmackDown, didn't go anywhere. Had a run on Raw, hasn't gone anywhere. He really should have been a big star for this company, and as soon as he got called up and had no direction, the writing was on the wall that he was going to go nowhere in WWE. And they really failed a great talent because the guy's a great wrestler. Maybe not the best mic worker, but they could have worked on that. And I really did think that he could have had world championship potential, and they kind of fucked that over. Jeremy B. from Facebook. Do you think WWE should pair Lio Rush up with Bobby Lashley as his mouthpiece and Lashley as Rush's enforcer? Yeah, as soon as I saw that video package, that whatever it was, that vignette on Raw this week for Rush and Lashley at the gym, I love that idea. I mean, it's got to work as a heel combo. Maybe as a babyface thing it could work. And it's not a guarantee that it's going to be a heel thing because, for one, Owens is targeting Bobby Lashley. So Lashley will obviously be a babyface for the foreseeable future. And also, Drake Maverick is a babyface in 205 Live. He's a heel on Raw. So who's to say that Lio Rush cannot have the opposite when being a babyface on Raw and a heel on 205 Live? But I do like the pairing on paper. Lashley desperately needs a mouthpiece. The guy can talk, but as a babyface, his promos have been shit. He was able to talk for himself in TNA, but that was when he was built up like a monster heel. He has not been built up that way in WWE since coming back. He's really been booked like shit, by and large. So, I love that pairing idea. I really definitely would do Lio Rush and Lashley on paper. I don't know where this is going. It sounds like it's going to be a motivational type gimmick, which really does nothing for me, with Lashley and Rush anyway on paper as a babyface shtick. But if they turn Lashley heel and have Rush do his thing as the heel, then yeah, it could be really, really entertaining. And Rush is an amazing athlete, so I would hope that, like you said, if they have Rush be the mouthpiece for Bobby Lashley, then Lashley can also be an enforcer for Lio Rush. Because Lio Rush should be able to wrestle as well, because the guy is a great wrestler and a lot of fun to watch in the ring. Jeremy's second question, thoughts on WWE still making Charlotte out to be the victim in this feud with Becky and ignoring Charlotte turning on Becky a few years earlier? Well, Becky certainly has not forgotten that. She's brought it up on Twitter a number of times that Charlotte turned on her like 2 or 3 years ago. So that certainly was not forgotten by Becky anyway, and probably not Charlotte, at least on social media. I mean, I did not expect them to bring up the fact that Charlotte turned on Becky because that would make her a bad person. They don't want to bring up that Charlotte's a bad person because she's not a bad person. She's the babyface. She's this hero. At this point, I've just gotten used to it. It's really not worth complaining over, I guess, complaining about just because she's the babyface, Becky's the heel. They're not going to change it. It's pretty clear by this point. That's the way they're going with it. And Becky has been fucking killing it as a heel. So if nothing else, she's been doing really, really well in the role. And Charlotte, I mean, she's a decent babyface, but Becky is way better. Both women are extremely miscast in this current feud, without a doubt. So yeah, at this point, it's bothersome, it's annoying, it's wrong, but it is what it is, and I'll, at least on the bright side, Becky's making the most of the heel run, and hopefully she does win the championship eventually, if not on Sunday. At Reborn Again from Twitter, his first question was from John. Should be sure to check out his channel. Real Honesty with John Ritland. Great channel. I always plug it here on the show. The guy's awesome. Has the hype for Hell in the Cell been very lackluster, or is it just me? Also, could the lack of hype for it have anything to do with WWE also hyping up Super Showdown and Evolution? Yes, at least on the Raw side, Raw focuses on too much shit at the same time. We got Mixed Match Challenge, we got Evolution, we have Super Showdown, we have Hell in the Cell. They're hyping up way too much shit at the same time, and it's ridiculous. Yeah, that's really why the build for Hell in the Cell has been lacking, is because they're focusing on too many other shows at the same time. The Evolution stuff, Triple H and Undertaker, and all this other shit. It's like, dude, calm down. We have a pay-per-view on Sunday. Let's focus on that first. So yeah, the build has been very lackluster. I think it can be a good show. I know I say that every month, but it can be a good show on paper. It's really how good they want the show to be. They could take a shitty-ass card and make it a great show if they wanted to. It's really all a matter of what WWE wants to do. And I think the build on the SmackDown side has been great. I'm looking forward to Bryan and Brie versus Miz and Maurice. I'm looking forward to Joe and AJ. I'm looking forward to Hardy and Orton. I'm looking forward to Charlotte and Becky. I'm looking forward to New Day and Rusev Day. All the SmackDown matches, I'm excited for. Thankfully, the SmackDown matches outnumber the Raw matches, which is only Braun and Roman, Dolph and Drew versus Ambrose and Rollins, and Ronda and Alexa. That's it. There's no other matches on the card, which really is not a great indication of how great that roster is at the moment, how strong the roster is on Hell in the Cell, or on the Raw roster. Anyway, so yeah, it's been very lackluster, absolutely, and it definitely has something to do with Raw having too many hands in the pot here, with fucking Super Showdown, Evolution, Mixed Match Challenge, WrestleMania 52, and all this other dumb shit. Like, focus on the pay-per-view you have coming up, and then focus on the other stuff. Like, Evolution can wait. Super Showdown can wait. I know what they're doing with Triple H and Undertaker, and that's been consistently some of the best stuff on Raw in recent weeks, but that does nothing to make me more excited about Hell in the Cell. SmackDown this week, at least I thought, was a way better show than Raw, and did a much better job of getting me excited for the pay-per-view than Raw did on Monday. John's second question here, what are your 3 favorite and least 3 favorite Bound for Glory pay-per-views? So I've only been watching since 2008, so I can only really go off of the pay-per-views that I've seen. I think I've seen some of 08's Bound for Glory, some of 09, and every Bound for Glory since 2010 over the last 8 years, I guess, 2010 through 2017. So my favorite, I mean, they weren't the best shows, but I just remember being thoroughly entertained by these pay-per-views at the time, and then also watching them back, which I have. Bound for Glory 2010, Bound for Glory 2011, I thought were two very good shows with maybe not the greatest main events, but overall I was entertained. They had a lot of newsworthy moments, and I don't know, I just remember really liking the show by and large, both of those events, and both events I would rewatch. And also 2012 Bound for Glory I thought was easily the best Bound for Glory I've ever seen. They had a lot of great matches on the card, just straightforward wrestling. 2012 was a great year for Impact, I thought. A lot of good, straightforward build, then great wrestling. Jeff Hardy and Austin Aries, great match. Magnus and Samoa Joe, great match. A fun tag team title match. I think the women's match was like Tara versus Brooke Tessmacher, if I'm not mistaken. That was a good match. Obviously, my favorite match of the entire show, one of my favorite TNA matches just in general, James Storm versus Bobby Roode in the street fight. That's one of my favorite TNA matches of all time. I thought that match was amazing. Just a really, really good show. So definitely 2012 is my favorite Bound for Glory ever. For my least favorite, 2013 I didn't think was bad. It could have been better. I enjoyed Angle and Bobby Roode, even though we've seen it before. I enjoyed the main event a lot between AJ Styles and Bully Ray. The rest of the card really left a lot to be desired. It just felt rushed. There was not the strongest build for the show. Just given what happened, I don't know. Just I came away from that event underwhelmed. So 2013 was, on the bottom of my list of least favorite Bound for Glories. 2014 was fucking terrible. There was no build. It took place in Japan. They were missing a lot of top stars from the roster at that point. They weren't even on the show. It was ridiculous. It was like a glorified one-night-only pay-per-view. It was what Bound for Glory 2014 was. It was fucking terrible. It was a fine show, and I enjoyed it on the whole, but it really was not a strong Bound for Glory whatsoever. And easily the worst was last year's. I thought last year's Bound for Glory was fucking awful. They tried to reboot and get people excited for the show and think that Impact was going to be a new company, and they are now, as of, earlier this year under new management, but under the management and under the tutelage of Jeff Jarrett, and I think he might have been gone by this point, but still, this was a pretty bad effort on Impact's part. The main event, Johnny Impact versus, Eli Drake, filled with interference from Alberto Del Rio, all that other dumb shit. Moose and Lashley in like a cage match with Stephen Bonner, whatever his name is. I don't know. That was kind of weird. There was just a lot of matches on that show I thought just sucked. The build sucked. The show sucked. The show was no good. So 2017's Bound for Glory was pretty awful. I would hope that this year's will be a lot better. I'm almost guaranteeing that the show is going to be a lot better. Because Slammiversary was awesome earlier this year. I really like Slammiversary in June. So I'm hoping Bound for Glory will have similar success. And his last question here. Is it just me, or do a lot of the women on the main roster feel underutilized? Outside of Ronda, Charlotte, Becky, and Alexa, it just seems that like a lot of the women are spinning their wheels. Yes, but especially Asuka, Bayley, and Banks. Asuka really should not feel like another woman on the roster. They have successfully made me not care about Asuka anymore. Whatever the fuck her promo was on SmackDown this week was terrible. Teriyaki, like, what the fuck? Like, they've crossed the point where they don't care about her accent. They're just gonna start booking her like a Japanese joke. They're gonna have her start coming out with the fucking chef hat and the chopsticks and doing the bowing and saying konnichiwa and all this other dumb shit. I'm afraid that we have reached that point, unfortunately, with Asuka on the main roster. So yeah, they are absolutely having her spin her wheels right now, which is a massive shame. On the Raw side, Bayley and Banks, I talked about it for Bleacher Report last week in an article, but Brie and Nikki being back is bad news for that women's roster on Raw, at least on Raw, because Banks and Bayley will not get consistent television time anymore. They're not doing anything anyway. They're just spinning their wheels. They built up the Riot Squad just to lose to the fucking Bella Twins, which is a shame. So once the Bella Twins leave, they're not going to mean anything anymore. The Riot Squad, that is. They're not going to mean anything. Banks and Bayley already mean nothing. They've been winning and losing back and forth for months now, and nothing is ever really accomplished. So that's been a failure. And that's really about it. What other main women do we have? Like Alicia Fox, I don't really care about her. Mickie James, she's with Alexa, so at least she's doing something. SmackDown Naomi has not meant anything since WrestleMania. Having her win the WrestleMania Women's Battle Royal is kind of a joke in retrospect because she has not done anything since then. She wasn't even on TV after that, so why even bother? People forgot about it like 2 weeks later. The Iconics are fucking spinning their wheels. Mandy and Sonya are spinning their wheels. So, yeah, they are having a lot of women get underutilized right now in favor of those other women in the title picture, which is fine. Carmella isn't doing anything. I'm fine with that because she was shoved down her throat for like 6 months, so I'm fine with her not being on TV as much, or at least not in the title picture. But the usage of Asuka, Bayley, and Banks is what bothers me more than anything because they are big stars and they feel like fucking afterthoughts at the moment. At HardyDX from Twitter, we got our final 2 questions from him today. His first question was, what are your thoughts on Hulk Hogan saying the NWA would murder the Shield? In their prime, probably, yeah, for sure. Currently, absolutely not. Fucking Kevin Nash would, tear a quad. I had to say it, I'm sorry. I know it's overdone, it's cliche. He would tear a quad before he even got in the ring at the hands of Roman Reigns spearing him through the barricade. So, that's not going to happen. NWA versus, or I said it again, NWO versus The Shield in 2018 does nothing for me. Hogan wrestling again does nothing for me, and it won't happen anyway. They would never clear the guy. But maybe 20 years ago, if The Shield was who they are now, or were 5 years ago, versus the NWO of 98, that would be, pretty cool to see. But, yeah, NWO at their prime, Roman's a beast, but Ambrose and Rollins are nothing. Not in the ring, but just in general, in terms of size and strength and power, are nothing compared to Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. So he has a point that NWO of 98, of 96 would fucking murder the Shield. Easily. They would just lift up one boot and squash Ambrose right under their boot. That's how easy of a task it would be to do away with the Shield, would it be for the NWO. So, again, I think NWO in their prime, sure, would absolutely kill the Shield, but NWO of today, no. It would be the other way around. And then his final question for today's show, what direction do you see Drew McIntyre going in when he eventually splits from Dolph Ziggler? That's a good question. I think only upward. He has to go only upward. Now, I know he's the current tag team champion, that's great and all, but Drew should be a singles champion at some point in the near future. The guy is that good. He should be IC champion, Universal champion. The guy is an absolute star. The only reason Ziggler has had this career resurgence in 2018 is because of Drew McIntyre. If only because of Drew McIntyre. They have big plans for him. They should. He's great. Good on the mic. Very good in the ring. He looks like a star. Acts like a star. He's the guy they got to roll with right now. So, or not like this moment, but at some point in the near future. So, I could see him splitting from Drew, like you said, and then winning the IC title from Seth, or going on to maybe even win the Universal Championship from Roman Reigns. Beyond Drew, no one else really makes sense to take that title from Roman Reigns right now. Definitely not Braun. Braun would make sense, but they won't do it right now. So not Braun, definitely not Kevin Owens, definitely not Jinder Mahal or Baron Corbin. So, Drew has a good shot of taking that championship from Roman at some point down the road. So yeah, Drew is Universal Champion. Sign me up. I think he can win that World Championship. He should have won the first time around 10 years ago. Took a little longer than expected. But yeah, I could totally see Drew as Universal Champion or WWE Champion at some point within the next year. So thank you guys for checking out and listening to episode 250, a historic edition of Hashtag AskGSM here today. You guys are the best. If you want to send in questions, tweet me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook at facebook.com/graham.gsm.matthews. Leave a comment on the post I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, if you want to drop a question in this very video, you can do so in the comment section down below. I'll include your question in next week's edition. So, with all that being said, guys, enjoyed Hell in the Cell this coming Sunday. We'll be back next Wednesday with episode 251 of Hashtag AskGSM right here on the channel. Be sure to like the video, drop a comment, as I said earlier, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more content. Have a great one, guys. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road to Hell in a Cell.